Hello everybody, this is Juli D'Ascendis again, and I'm continuing our video series called Listen Up, Church Finances. And today I want to talk to you about a concept that really is central to accounting and finances and administration in the local church, and that's this thing called internal control. And I'm sure you've heard of that before. And I just want to share with you this little quote here that I love. Stewardship is the act of organizing your life so that God can spend you. I really love this, so I'm just going to put it up there for you for a second. And really, that's what internal control really is. It's a system of checks and balances and a way of organizing the life of the church to protect it from either intentional or unintentional acts that could actually cause a loss of the church's financial assets, or that could result in misreporting of church financial information. So it really is a system of checks and balances. And like any other human system, it's not perfect. And depending on the size of your church, you may or may not be able to implement a lot of the internal controls that people might say it's necessary to do. So one of the things I want to do before I get too deep into this is I want to tell you about 4 things that even small churches can do to ensure at least a framework of internal control and stewardship. And the first thing you can do, if you're a small church, you're not going to have a lot of staff available. You're not going to be able to achieve what we call separation of duties, where you may actually have the same person, because you only have one person, who's taking the money to the bank and who's writing out the checks and who's approving transactions and negotiating contracts with outside vendors and all that sort of thing. So there's a couple of things that you can do even when you're in that small environment. And the first thing is that you should require 2 signatures on every check if you're a very small church. And even if you are in a situation where you're under district supervision or you don't necessarily have a board formed yet, there's always another person who's not related to you as the pastor who you can call upon to sign checks. And actually, this is a no-brainer. It'll actually stop any chance of embezzlement by writing unauthorized checks for personal use. And again, these 2 individuals should be unrelated by blood or marriage. And if the pastor must be one of the signers, then make sure there's another signer and preferably someone on the board. And of course, the key here is never allow signing blank checks. So always have the checks made out, have the documentation behind the check. But this is something that even small churches can do that can really protect your church. The second thing is require 2 unrelated people to count the offerings. So if you put some simple internal controls in place that cover your offering that you take every Sunday, again, this can go very far to protecting the church from, if anyone would be stealing the money or misappropriating it somehow. So what you want to do is you want to have 2 unrelated people. You want to have them writing down all the transactions, making copies of all the checks, having the treasurer maybe sign off on it. Again, if you're in a very small environment, you may only have 1 or 2 people. Be a good idea not to have them related to each other by blood or marriage. Ushers can fill this role. We have a lot of really great training resources in this area. If you scroll down to the bottom of this video, we'll be happy to hook you up with those resources. The third thing you can do is look at your bank statement every month. So even if you're a 1-person shop, you have like a treasurer who's also acting as your bookkeeper. Someone other than the person who's keeping your books needs to receive the bank statement unopened and really take a look at it. So you want to scan it for unusual items, large items, checks that are being cashed that you don't understand. If it looks like the signatures are funky, those kind of things. So looking at your bank statement every month is a very important function. Every church should be incorporating this in their system of internal control. And especially our smaller churches, again, that may not have the luxury of having more than 1 person keeping the books. And the last thing that small churches can do that we recommend is try to avoid using debit cards. We really don't encourage churches of any size to use debit cards because debit card is like cash. And in the wrong hands, your bank account could actually be wiped out by using debit cards. And you have no recourse really if something goes wrong. So instead of a debit card, we recommend that you go with a low balance credit card, and that you make sure you monitor the activity and that you pay the full balance every month so that you're not paying unnecessary interest. So those are 4 things that even small churches can do that can inject internal control into the local church. And for some of our larger churches, of course, we have a lot of recommendations in terms of policies and procedures that you can implement that will help you achieve a good system of internal control. And I've actually put together a PowerPoint on internal control in the local church. And if you scroll down to the bottom of this video, you can click on a link that'll take you to that PowerPoint. And this has a lot of detail in it that I hope will be helpful to you. And then just one last thing that I just want to mention to you is the foundations of your church identity and your system of internal control really is all about ethics, accountability, and integrity. And this is something that we really call setting the tone from the top. So as the senior pastor, as a board member, as a treasurer, you are actually setting the tone for literally the rest of your church. So I just want to talk about a couple of concepts that go with these ethical practices that we're hoping that you will adopt if you haven't already. The first one is transparency. And what transparency means is that when people look at you, they can look right through you. So kind of what you see is what you get, that you're not hiding anything, your books are open, your financial information is open, that you're conducting your business on the up and up. And so if anyone were to look through it, they certainly would find that everything is in order. The second concept is accountability. As the senior pastor and, by association, the treasurer, board members, you are accountable to your congregation. So you want to make sure that you're visible and available to them. You're accountable to your board. The senior pastor, is accountable to the board, and the board is accountable to the congregation. So you want to make sure that you don't stack your board with people who are just going to yes you to death all the time. You really do want to have people from a variety that reflect the people in the pews, that may have different opinions, may have different ideas, so that you can show your accountability. And of course, you're accountable to your denomination. You represent the Assemblies of God. So we hope that you will adopt accountability. And part of that means that you're going to submit to sound business practices. You're going to make financial decisions with your board. You're not going to be a silo unto yourself. And you're going to have, obviously, internal controls, policies, and procedures in place that help establish this accountability. And then lastly, personal integrity. So again, personal integrity is a little bit subjective, but here's some what we feel are hallmarks of good personal integrity as a pastor. Are you the first to show up and the last to leave? Do you demonstrate personal habits that inspire others to have confidence in you as the pastor? And do you demonstrate a sacrificial work attitude? This is something that, if you're willing to pitch in and do whatever you need to do, if you come alongside your people and you just show them that you're available, that you're a hard worker, that you take your position seriously, that is something that is one of the hallmarks of personal integrity. So it's your responsibility also to be knowledgeable and to at least be informed on what are some of the rules and regulations and laws that govern church administration and accounting. If you're ever in a situation where you have to explain yourself to the Internal Revenue Service, ignorance of the law is never a defense. They're certainly not interested in hearing that. So another part of your accountability to your church is to make sure that you keep current on at least so that you know the major laws and regulations that affect your church. So I hope this helps in terms of helping you set the tone at your church and to provide you with some practical steps, some internal controls that you can implement. This is a very detailed topic. We have a lot of resources available for you. Give me a call here at the Ministry Network if you have any questions, if you need to discuss some procedures that you might need to be putting in place. And if you're interested in it, you can scroll down to the bottom of this video and you can click a link and you can take a look at some of the resources that we've written up for you. Thanks again for watching this video. We really appreciate everything that you're doing for God's kingdom and in the assemblies of God. Again, thanks for your time, and we'll see you soon. God bless. Hey everybody, thanks again for watching this video, and I hope you found the content useful. Just wanted to mention, in order for you to stay connected and up to date, there's a couple things we'd like to invite you to do. First of all, we'd like you to join our Facebook group, which is called NJMN Financial Resources. And this is going to be a group that's going to have a lot of church leaders and bookkeepers and anyone really who's asking the same kind of questions that you are. And in addition to that, we'll have experts come on the Facebook page from time to time who can actually help you find the right answers. We're going to do some live chats, and there's going to be a lot of opportunities for interaction, so I strongly urge you to go ahead and join our Facebook group. Also, if you check below this video, there may be some additional resources that are linked to this video, so just go ahead and scroll down, and anything that's attached to this video, you can snag it right off here. And then lastly, we'd love it if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. By subscribing to this channel, you'll be kept up to date and informed about our latest posts. So again, thanks very much for your support. Thanks for watching, and God bless.